Welcome, everybody. It's another edition of the Sports Hole. I'm your host, Luke. With me, as always, XFL Jim, rock and roll, Matty Goldberg. Special edition. I'm a winner today.
Luke's a winner.
Fucking winner. Big, bright, shiny star.
Right?
You're the first winner since we started this podcast, right? Like, you're the first one of us to have their team fully win something big.
I guess.
Yeah.
I did. I am a Rams fan too. So, but that's sort of a halfy one.
Yeah,
that wasn't my childhood.
We'll count the Rams a third. This is like the real big.
This is the real deal.
This week, yes. You got to be rooting for the Lions over the Rams, right?
I am, but
you're a Lions fan.
I'm a Lions fan. Yeah, but I'll happily root for the Rams if they win that.
Let me ask you a tough question. So,
yes, sir.
I was thinking about it today because I remember 2004 being a big Red Sox fan. You know, they break the curse.
Yeah.
You finally win it, and you're like, you invested all these years, and then you're like, okay. So did you have a moment like an hour later? You're like, okay.
So now what?
Or does it feel fucking great?
No, it felt great. It was kind of cool because my office party was going on that night too, so I had people to go party with right afterwards.
Oh,
I really like my team there, so we just kept it going. So it wasn't more of a what now, it was kind of like a fuck yeah, like this was the dream when they brought Jim in to sort of break our Ohio State curse, and it took a few years, and then we got to the playoffs, and it took a few more years, and then we were national champs.
Did you ever during the game feel like, because I felt like Michigan pretty much had it in hand, even up by 7, it never seemed like they were in danger. Did you ever feel like, oh shit?
Yeah, there was when their offense went stagnant in the second quarter and then into the third quarter.
Yeah. All the way to mid fourth quarter.
Yeah, up until mid, it was kind of like the Bama game was a little bit like that too on some level, except Michigan came out of the gate, jumping to a nice lead early on. I did feel like I felt like we were almost playing prevent offense at some point.
Yeah, I felt like that too.
Which is not a good feeling because I just want to fight and kick ass. And but that's why they get paid millions, and we do a podcast for free.
So. It reminded me a lot of the Penn State game where Michigan was up basically just one score the entire game. But it felt so much more than that, especially with how little Washington seemed to be able to do offensively.
It was because they had Penix rattled with the pressure
easily. This is probably his worst game of the season.
Oh yeah, and they
got
just
drilled all night.
Well, they could rush him with 4. Yeah. So then they could drop back people and just play like these zone coverages sometimes, and they could really just fuck with him. And they did.
I don't think he per se he didn't have a good game, but it reminded me of Patrick Mahommes versus the Bucks in the Super Bowl, where it's like he's just overmatched, where there's too much pressure, guys aren't getting open,
and they couldn't run the ball to save their lives.
Their running back was hurt,
right?
Who probably shouldn't have been playing, and they dropped a couple passes. But I think it will go down in history as Michigan is one of the all-time. They had above average offense, not a great passing offense.
Defense, dude.
A phenomenal all-time.
Yeah,
defense.
It was. They showed it ranked as an all-time defense for sure. Yeah. And then Michigan's point differential was 25 a game, essentially, too. So it was one of the biggest, so it's funny because even though Michigan was not very flashy at all, they still dominated so many games this year.
Mm-hmm. And they had a good running back, and
two good running backs.
Yeah.
So they got Alabama had a touchdown, a 30-yard drive on a fumble. So Alabama only put up really 13 points. And Washington put up 13 points, and they stuffed Alabama in overtime, which is a short field,
right?
Which is extremely impressive. So in my mind, they only gave up 26 points in the whole playoffs, which is it's mostly an offensive. College football is a much more offensive game than the NFL.
Oh yeah. I think it's been like that for a while. I think some of Saban's earlier teams were just so defensive, but then later on when spread offenses and stuff really picked up in college ball, it changed the landscape. But this was, shutting down an offense like this was insane to do. And they did it. So, and Washington won some big games this year, and Penix was I think he should have won the Heisman.
He should have won the Heisman for sure.
I think so.
And
I mean, it got to a point last night too, where when he's got the big flag jacket on and he's getting drilled, and he's in a lot of pain, and he's wincing.
Yeah.
You're like, take him out of the game. Like, I know he wouldn't get out of the game because he's a gamer and he's a warrior, but like he was getting his ass kicked every fucking play, and he was getting drilled.
Yeah. But he's a warrior, man. I think any team's going to be lucky to have him.
I agree. Draft him. Don't be stupid. Draft him. He's very good. He's got a great touch of the ball, and like this is just a matter where he was just completely overmatched, and his whole offense was. That Rose Garden guy got burned like 3 times in the second half.
We had
he had a beating with the holdings, and
center doing stupid shit too, like we had against Alabama, which was
it just never felt though like it always felt comfortable.
It did, even when it was close. Like this whole season, I mean, the Bama game was tight, and there was a time in the third quarter, the Ohio State game, it felt tight. Bad. But other than that, like the season was just very just fucking. They just did what they wanted to do.
It's also hard to accuse them now of cheating because there's no way they could cheat these last 2 games, and they dominated. So, I mean, why cheat? You're the best team.
I think that conversation started to go away after they won out those last 3 games without Harbaugh, and they won in good fashion, and then won the Big Ten title, took care of business against Alabama. I mean, just you can't
put an asterisk next to it.
Well, you know what? Also,
put my ass next to it.
JJ played exactly like Tom Brady used to play in his first 3 Super Bowls, where he never turned it over, protected it, didn't mind punting, let his defense do the job. But it was a strategy because you weren't going to lose the game. Like, he was never going to lose the game, and he would make a big play when he had to. And McCarthy really sacrificed maybe some plays downfield for the team, and it was like there's no shame in punting it because their defense was so good, and I think he realized that. It's like, hey, if you don't got anything on third down, maybe just run it. There's no shame in punting it.
Yeah, they really I mean, even when he opened up against Bama, and you're like, oh shit, this again, when it looked like an interception to start the game. And this game, they just came out running right away. They didn't try any bullshit early on and just established it. And McCarthy, and it's hard because you're a quarterback, and then in college, it's like you see people putting up insane numbers and winning Heismans, and the number 1 recruit in the country is from Detroit this year, and he ended up going to LSU because they have a Heisman winning quarterback, and it's all about the QB there. But JJ was a 5-star too, and he came to Michigan knowing it was sort of a run first situation. And, it says a lot about someone's character when they're sort of willing to go to a team that can win, as opposed to a team that's just going to get you inflated numbers and a bunch of NIL.
I think JJ's good, but I still don't we didn't really fully see him.
No, we don't really know.
Do everything that a lot of these other quarterbacks are asked to do.
He's
still good.
Yeah,
but that's good. The thing. If you don't have to do much, why try?
I think that's a good game plan. That's good on Michigan. I just selfishly wish we would see more of him because I want it's going to be hard to kind of evaluate his draft stock based on what we've seen from him.
Well, it's hard too because it's like the Michigan's passing game hasn't been great. They sort of do well. Like the tight end has been great the last few seasons.
Roman Wilson had a good year.
Roman Wilson, he'll be a decent draft pick too. I don't
second round, third round.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody else is going to get drafted on the current roster. At least.
What about Corum? Right.
Well, no, I mean the running backs, of course, will. But as far as receivers, Michigan's receiving game or passing.
Well, Morgan's like a freshman, I think.
What's that?
Morgan.
Oh yeah, I think he's going to be special.
Too. Yeah, he'll be back. He makes young mistakes, but he's a kid.
Yeah, but their receivers have oftentimes had trouble getting separation. So yeah, like you said, JJ, it's hard to gauge because he wasn't asked to do much, but he did shine when it mattered too.
Yeah, I mean the throw against Ohio State was that of beauty where he threw an absolute. He had to put it in such a small window, and that's like when he needed to make a play, he made a play, but at the same time, he was not going to do something stupid or force plays for his stats or try to get more touchdown passes. He understood the offense had three really good running backs, a really great offensive line, and their defense is going to dominate. So you don't have to do that much.
Yeah, I wish he would have done a little more with his legs in that third quarter because he didn't. I mean, he always is good for a couple of first downs a game with his legs, and then he finally started doing it later on in the game, and that's when the offense got moving again. But other than that, it was kind of a dry quarter. But I hope he stays another year. He would benefit, I think, both as a player and
now you can because you
draft
get money.
potential.
Yeah.
But nowadays these quarterbacks are in a rush to get to the league so you can get through your rookie contract and get the big money then.
Well, I also think too he'll be evaluated. So like they'll have somebody evaluate his draft status, and if it's like, well, you're a fourth rounder. If you stay and you have a good year, you can move up to second rounder, get some NIL money to hold you over. So your best bet is to stay. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not sure. I mean, he could be drafted higher. Who knows? But
yeah,
he was the ultimate. Let's call it what it is: a game manager. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Skin had incredible defense, great running backs, but he did become a game. He threw the ball a lot more last year. It seemed like.
I think he also might be in a good position. Like it's not the end of the world to get drafted later because then you're actually going to a decent team too. Sometimes if it's in the first round or second.
Yeah, I agree.
I do think if he was to wait though, like next year's quarterback class is not fantastic. I think he'd probably be.
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams is this year. Yeah. I'm saying if McCarthy waited, I'm saying if he waited until 2025, I'm looking at the quarterbacks right now that are projected to be drafted. You got Cam Ward, you got Shedeur Sanders, Carson Beck,
Quinn Ewers,
probably Ewers
as well. Like Jalen Daniels at Kansas. Like, there's not a ton of huge names in next year's draft pool.
Yeah.
He'd probably be like a top 15, top 10.
Yeah, but what is Michigan going to do? Are they going to run it back the way they ran it back this year?
I think a lot of it probably depends on Harbaugh's situation, I would imagine.
Yeah, the Harbaugh situation. I think the upcoming receivers are a little faster too. Like, we'll see. I'm curious to see how they.
I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed.
Did you shed a tear? Stayed.
What's that?
Did you shed a tear?
I got choked up plenty of times.
What a sissy!
For sure. I
100% believe that. I will tell you this today. The next time Nebraska wins a national championship, I will cry.
Baby wants bottle.
I will fucking cry.
But it was like
I have not been alive to experience Nebraska national championship.
Well, there's been more time between Michigan's national title in my life than it was from when I started watching Michigan football to when they won their first championship.
It's wild to think that Tom Brady was on that team.
I know.
Brian Griese was the starter. Lloyd Carr was. I mean, I remember watching Jim Harbaugh play quarterback. He's
the first quarterback I remember at Michigan.
Do you remember watching that game where they were Iowa was number 1 and Michigan was number 2 and they lost 9-7 on a field goal at the buzzer?
I don't remember because I was like only 6.
First big games. I was like 9 or 10, but I remember that game. And I don't know if JJ is the best quarterback that played in Michigan. They've had some guys, like Chad Henne was pretty good.
Yeah, Henne had a great career.
Elvis Gerback. I mean, they had some not great in the NFL per se.
No, they had a long run of quarterbacks that were journeymen that made it to the NFL and had even like Todd Collins. They had even Scott Dreisbeck, who started his freshman year and then was a backup for the rest of his career, made the NFL and was in there for a while.
I have a selfish who I think my favorite, or maybe not the best, but my favorite Michigan quarterback of all time. It's Denard Robinson. 100%.
He was fun.
He was so fun in college. He was so fun in college.
If he could have, completed.
If he was playing in today's football, oh my God.
Yeah, he would have been like an NIL superstar. Like, it was nuts, that guy. It was so fun.
God, I loved him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a great, and then he had a couple good years at Jacksonville as a running back.
Yeah.
And he was
got
fun.
A knee injury. And he's back. He works for Michigan now too. I think he's like some sort of player's relation or something. I don't know, but it's nice because they got all those.
They bring a lot of guys back.
That's what Jim did. That's what turned it around.
Hart is the running backs coach. And he was pretty good. I think he was the guy that got lit up by what's his face? Remember that tackle for South Carolina?
No, that was Vincent Smith.
He was the running back.
Clowney.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was Vincent Smith. That was Vincent Smith, the one who was
that hit was one of the most vicious hits I've ever seen.
Made Clowney a star.
That made Clowney a first-round pick overall.
Right.
Yeah, and he's lasted long, but he's had a very mediocre NFL career
compared to what they thought he was going to be. Like, but that's one of those guys where you can kind of tell how the way they are in college. Like he just took a bunch of plays off, like he really just was waiting to get to the NFL. So
it seems like Harbaugh is coming back as of now, or is that correct?
I don't think so.
Really? Because he said he's already saying like next year, blah, blah, blah.
I haven't heard that.
The contract is insane.
It's a great contract. It'd make him like a top 3-4 paid coach.
I think it does have the stipulation that it would also like close out the Harbaugh, the NFL stuff every season.
I think it was gave it a couple year window.
Yeah.
Like none
he's
of that.
Starting to look like his dad too.
Yeah,
he looks a lot like his dad.
He's like 60 now. So
crazy.
It's fine. I don't know. I think he's got it made. If he stays at Michigan, he will be in the playoffs almost every year. He will,
hands down.
He's already if he left this year, he'd still might be considered the greatest football coach in Michigan history, just from win percentage and then actually getting a clean national title in the modern era.
What's funny is, I only can think of maybe 6 Michigan coaches in the 47 years I've lived.
Yeah.
There hasn't been many. It's like Bo, the guy that got fired for drunk driving. I forget his name.
Gary Moeller. No, he just got drunk in a restaurant. Those were very different days. I think he was just drunk in some Chinese. Yeah, Lloyd Carr, who got us a chip too.
Who went after Lloyd Carr? Was it
that was Rich Rod.
It was Rich Rod after him,
Hoke.
And then Hoke.
And then Harbaugh.
That's not many coaches.
No, it's not. That's a good sign for a school too.
What does Brian Day do? There was an article I saw today about how Vrabel's an Ohio State guy. He just got fired. It's like bring him to Ohio State. I mean, it's wild that you can lose one game a year and your season's an absolute failure.
Well, it's.
I wonder if it'll change around for Ohio State coming up, because they'll also they'll always get in the playoffs. Like, what
I
if
think it's
they
sort
lose
of a
to Michigan
DNA thing. It's a DNA thing with those guys. Like Vrabel, I think could come in and he would, if Harbaugh returned, he would create the offense that could go toe to toe.
Well, that's what Luke and I were talking about too. Is that the Michigan Ohio State the last few years have been a playoff game. It's not a playoff game anymore because both teams will probably get in if they have good seasons. So it takes a little luster from some of those games away. Like Georgia, Alabama is essentially a playoff game, and now it's not because they would both get in this year.
You're going to see teams with 2 losses get in at some point too. How many teams is it, Jim? Is it 12?
12 team
okay.
playoff.
Yeah, you could easily see teams with 12.
Yeah, it would be fun too if a team like Missouri, who's probably 10 or 11 ranked this year, and then they ran the table and they won. I don't think it is because there's you see from 1 to Washington is number 2. I mean, Alabama is obviously better than Washington in my opinion, but Washington is the number 2 team. You see the difference between 1 and 2. Imagine the difference between 1 versus 10. I don't think you're going to see a lot of upsets. You might see one in a blue moon, which will be amazing, but for the most part, the top seeds are going to win.
For one game, I could very easily see upsets because you'd also see a lot of styles make fights things. Everyone, the favorite didn't win again in the Texas-Washington game.
No.
Jim, are you looking forward to the playoffs? Now we have more games that matter after the regular season.
So I'm looking forward. I mean, take a little bit away from the regular season, just a smidge. That is the complaint. But obviously, this boosts college football's postseason from, in my opinion, one of the worst postseasons in sports to, again, this makes it, there's 12 games that matter. There are 12, there's 6 games plus whatever other playoff games. There's a lot of games matter. And it'll be very, very exciting to see playoff games in home stadiums. That will be. Could you imagine Michigan hosting a playoff game in the Big House?
Oh no, it's gonna be nuts.
So they get home games. They're not like bowl games.
I think the first couple rounds are home games.
Well, they'll have a bye. The first 4 teams will have a bye.
Well, the first 4 teams, but I think some of the first round games.
Yeah.
And the quarterfinals, I assume, would be home.
Yeah. I think it will make the game better. I think you lose a little here, but you gain here. So I think it will all work out. And I mean, it was a good season. It was, there were some really great games. I think Washington, Oregon, the first game was a memorable game.
That's still the game of the year for me.
Yeah, Michigan, Alabama was a top 5, one a classic. And, it was really the year of Michael Penix. He went above and beyond. He just couldn't finish the job. And, I know he's got a lot of injuries, but if you're in the NFL, don't sleep on him. He's a winner.
If I had to pick my top 5 games of the year, I think Oregon, Washington, round 1 is number 1. Yeah. Michigan, Ohio State's up there. Alabama, Georgia is up there.
Yeah.
It didn't mean anything, but it was a very exciting game, and it was kind of like a very early season fun thing. Colorado State, the environment, the vibe, and the game itself, it was super fun. Awesome. It was super fun.
I'm going to say Colorado TCU because we knew nothing what Colorado was going to be. We had no idea. They're 20-point dogs, and then to come out there on the road and win, TCU wasn't that good. That was a top 5 game to me.
Also, maybe Texas, Alabama up there, too. That game was very entertaining.
Game, yeah. Just to have Matthew McConaughey. It was a great game. Texas, Oklahoma.
Red River was a great game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nebraska, Minnesota was good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. Nebraska, Iowa, the Unders Fest. Shout out, by the way.
The best, worst game I've ever seen.
Shout out, by the way. I talked about this with my buddy Chase. Iowa went under on every game but one this year. I think it was the Iowa State game. Iowa games and unders were the best bet of the entire college football season.
I want to know who they're going to get to.
Mike Vrabel.
Well, he's a defensive guy, but they should bring in. I'm sure
Scott Frost.
The guy for the Chargers will probably get fired. Who was with the Cowboys? Kellen Moore. He might be a good OC in the college.
It's actually it's rumored right now that they're going after Scott Frost. There's some rumors going around.
Wait, who's going after Scott Frost?
There's rumors right now for Scott Frost to Iowa as OC.
Isn't that amazing? He's gonna get $5 million to be a fucking asshole.
Well, it does make sense. If he comes out with some,
he was a good OC for Oregon.
But it's gonna be funny though, seeing Iowa run some,
But he failed so
fast-paced.
He
was good. His last stint as an OC, he was good.
There's another guy who's gonna get a job in the NFL as an OC. He was the coach of the Cardinals last year. The good-looking guy from Texas.
Oh, no way!
Bradbury? What's his name?
Kingsbury. Yeah,
Kingsbury. No way Kingsbury's getting a job. No way.
No. Yeah.
He's off in Thailand.
OC maybe. What you think back in the NFL?
Yeah, OC. Yeah, I'll get a
job.
You
think in the NFL? He'll be
at college or OC. I bet you somebody gives him a lot of money to be an OC.
He'd be a good OC.
Yeah.
Wait, wasn't he USC's OC this year?
No, he was USC's OC before going. I think he was an assistant at USC.
Yeah, and then he got the job for the Cardinals. So
I think this year he was an assistant at USC.
Right.
He's a handsome man. I know
he's
that.
Senior. Oh, he's senior.
Yeah, senior offensive
and
quarterback
coach at USC.
So he could also graduate to OC there, but that's Lincoln Riley calling plays.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of hard.
Although if you're a quarterback, why not go to USC still? You have two of the best quarterback molders in the game.
Right. What's up, Eddie?
I could see him getting a fancy job as an OC somewhere and getting overpaid.
Yeah, maybe he goes to Bama, right?
Oh, you know, it's a classic Alabama-Auburn.
That was a good game too. That was fun.
4th and 30.
Iron Bowl was a
go
fun
down
one.
as 4th and 30.
All right. You guys ready to move to pros?
Well, the
now?
last bit I was going to ask you, Luke, is what do you think Michigan's record is next year?
It's hard to say. Literally, there's too many questions right now.
I'm going to go 10-3.
That could be fair. I think the defense, we're still going to have dogs on defense because there's some young people like Will Johnson. I think.
I have another question.
Because you play Washington again next year.
Did they have
two Washington?
A post?
Did they have a halftime music show or no?
What's that?
Was there a halftime music show last night?
I don't know. That's
I didn't pay attention.
I went to a casino and watched it, and then we had some friends come, and my wife was with them, and it was funny because she's like, is there like a halftime show, like a Beyonce or something during this?
Yeah. Well, there usually is. Who's the NFL halftime show this
year? Oh, who knows?
It's probably Usher, I think.
Usher?
I think it's Usher.
When's the last time he had a big hit?
Well, what they do is they bring in like other pop stars to do duets with them.
Right.
He has like a huge like catalog of being able to like he could bring in a bunch of really fun.
I do like one of his songs.
Which one, Maddie?
What's your favorite Usher track? In the club, I want to make love in the club.
So college football, they just had the bands perform for halftime.
Oh,
that's traditional.
Yeah.
Okay. I want like in The Bachelor, when they always go to these, they end their dates at some small venue and no one's there except this band, and they're like, "Ooh, it's so and so." Tommy Jacobs. Oh my God, that no one has ever heard of.
Never heard of Tommy Jacobs.
Wouldn't it be funny if they walked into some venue and it was just the Michigan marching band, and they're like, "Oh my God, the Wolverine marching band."
That would be sick.
It's always a love song too. That's just like
right, yeah.
Some theme on love, like I'd rather spend 1,000,000 days with you. Being with you is the greatest day. Every day with you is the greatest day. And you're like, yeah, we've heard that song 1,000,000 times.
All right, so let's dig in.
Allen.
What? Yeah, it's my God, it's Gigi Allen.
And fuck, drink, fight, and fuck. We're gonna fuck. Any girl will do. Yeah. We need a bottle. Any bottle will do. Drink, fight, and fuck. Drink, fight, and fuck.
Then he throws some shit at.
Yeah.
And fights him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, when football wraps up, let's cover a Gigi Allen documentary.
Football never wraps up for me, just so you know.
That's right. Whatever. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah.
Sorry, you.
Actually, UFL. I'll have like a 3-week stretch or like
Are
a 2-week
you UFL
stretch.
Jim now too?
I will forever be XFL Jims. I'm rooting for the XFL conference, but there will be a UFL Jim being introduced this week.
30 on the Vegas Vipers.
Manny, I might do something like that this year. I might make a little investigative journalism thing in the Vegas Vipers.
For being there and being miserable in the cold and the freezing shithole.
I need an excuse to go to Vegas again, so I'll just make that excuse and go to Cashman's again.
Yes. Maddie and I'll meet you this time.
Yeah,
We're gonna come. All right, we got NFL playoffs.
Yeah, playoffs.
Excitement everywhere you turn. The playoffs.
Were you sad?
Playoffs, baby.
XFL.
What's that?
The fish got squished. The fish are now.
Dude, it's been a rough month. It was a rough December, moving into a rough January for the Dolphins.
Sound like the Counting Crows. It's been a long December.
Did you see Mike McDaniel's speech?
I did not.
Oh,
it was like making the rounds, and he was. It's weird watching him try to be motivational. Watching him speak in front of a bunch of players. It looks like a TED Talk.
It is weird.
It's like this. He looks like a Silicon Valley nerd up there. And don't get me wrong, he's super entertaining, bright, smart, love him. But when he's trying to motivate someone, and you got a Dan Campbell, right? Who looks like he's right, come on, fight me, motherfucker.
He's also a blocking tight end in the NFL for 7 years.
Right. And then you have Mike McDaniel, who's about Maddie's size, and then is just trying to get people pumped up. It just doesn't kind of come across as inspirational.
I'm going to take a few shots at Tua. I'm not a Tua fan.
This was a rough look for Tua.
He just. I
mean, he went from being an MVP candidate early on to
Yeah, but he needs everything to work. And
I was gonna say, I've been saying it all year.
Yeah.
he'll never like Tua's a lot of the reason. He's never really a big reason of why we lose a lot of the time, but he's also not really a reason of why we win. He's just kind of along for the ride.
Game out of his ass. He's
like
never
when everything's clicking, when everything's humming, he can make those accurate throws. Yeah. He looks great. But the second it's time to be clutch in the NFL, he can't do it, which is crazy because he was like super clutch at Bama.
I knew when he got the ball at the end of the game, I'm like, there's no way they're gonna win. He just can't get it done. And it sucks because they can beat Kansas City. Kansas City's on the ropes. Kansas City's having a terrible year. They can beat them.
They could. It also depends on like.
I don't believe in Tua though. I just can't buy that he's gonna step up and have a sick game.
A lot of it depends also on like, is Waddle back? Is Mostert back? What's Van Ginkel's status? Because I saw the sickest stat for the Dolphins this whole year was that I think if Van Ginkel played more than like if he played 3 quarters, the Dolphins win.
It's wild too how lucky the Chiefs are getting because they're getting a Dolphins team that's absolutely banged up. The injuries are starting to mount up. That you're losing Chubb, you lose Jalen Phillips, and you don't know if Waddle's healthy, you don't know if Mosert's healthy, and like the Dolphins need everybody to click because I'm just not I'm not a Tua guy.
They need everything clicking or else it ain't working.
Yeah, and they're not.
I would think they try to move on from him this year.
Who's that?
Next year?
I don't think they do this year. I mean,
it's hard because where do you go? Quarterbacks don't grow on trees.
It depends what's available. Obviously,
right.
If somehow they could snag like a Herbert, I think everyone would go for him.
If they're gonna try to let him walk. Because if you have a decent quarterback,
I think they kind of lost the opportunity with they were probably one of the teams in the running for Lamar.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
yeah. I think that kind of like they shot that going in because they're in the draft. There's no point in getting a quarterback because I don't think we could draft a quarterback in our position that's like
and there's no guarantee he's going to be good.
Yeah. I don't think you'll be able to draft anyone better than Tua, and I think it just depends on who would be available for trading. Like maybe we could get Kyler Murray, but I don't know if he's significantly like better enough for what you'd have to trade for him. I imagine.
Yeah, I don't know if he's an upgrade that much to trade him.
Yeah, I think the jury's still out on him. So who are you guys picking?
I have a future on 3 teams. I'm getting ready to burn my Dolphins future right now.
Okay,
but they're all in the AFC. I have a future early on about I think 9-1 or 11-1 or something like that on the Ravens, which I'm feeling good. But again, I got to see it in the playoffs. It's a different beast.
Yes.
And I have a future, I believe 50-1 or 40-1 on the Browns.
Oh wow.
That I'm feeling real good about that one right now.
Every game.
I'm feeling real good about the Browns right now.
You can hedge every game too.
I'm kind of feeling good about the Rams. The Rams are coming in like hot.
Right.
I'm going to take the Lions versus the Bills.
That'd be a good one. That'd be a good game. The Bills are also like hot too.
But it seems pretty likely that the 49ers will play the Ravens, that they're 2 head and shoulders above. I mean, the Eagles have been awful. The Bucks are a mess. You know, the Bucks had a good season for what people thought they'd be, but they're not really a contender.
I can see the Bucks winning like the first game.
Yeah, because the Eagles are just so bad right now.
What's wrong with the Eagles, Matty? What do you think is the biggest problem with them right now?
It's hard to go, to win 2 years in a row, to go all the way. It's so hard, and they lose their OC, their DC, and that's what scares you about the Lions next year. Because losing, like you saw with the Bills, like when they went from Dable to Ken Dorsey, their offense fell apart, and OC and DC means a lot, and there's like a Super Bowl hangover. And I have a friend who's an Eagles fan. He's like, I ain't watching the rest of the year. They suck, whatever. It's like, bro. They lost the Super Bowl by a bad call last year. They're going to make the playoffs 3 years in a row. You're acting like they're the fucking Jets, and they're not.
Right.
So, calm down. It's a Super Bowl hangover year. Not many teams that lose the Super Bowl get back the next year. Very rarely. So, it's just like injuries, things catch up, stuff like that. It's not the end of the world. They're just hitting a bad spot. I think Hurts will be back next year. They'll be fine.
They might lose some of that offensive line though.
It is wild too, though. Like what you're seeing is it's almost like a war of attrition. Whoever is the healthiest at the end has the best chance. And so many teams are like Dan Campbell. I don't know if that was a smart move to play all your starters because you lose Laporta, who's such a key ingredient, and it's a dumb injury. And you see these injuries. You see the Dolphins' injuries are getting high.
Laporta, who set a rookie record.
Yeah, the Bills recovered from their injuries. The Ravens are pretty healthy, except for Mark Andrews, but Likely's been very good. And the 49ers have been really healthy. So you kind of look at who are the healthiest teams. I'm not going to count Dallas out, but they usually do their Dallas.
I was going to say, I think the Packers are on upset watch right here against Dallas.
That could be an upset. Yeah, they're playing great. They're playing absolutely great. Jordan Love has been great.
Jordan Love has had some great moments.
I'm going to be kind of annoyed. Better. I feel like everyone should be kind of annoyed if Jordan Love does turn out to be like great.
Yes, everyone will be annoyed
because that's stupid.
Done with the Packers
3 in a row. You can't do it 3 times in a row.
But the fact also, like the Packers, like only got 2 Super Bowls out of both those guys. Is
that just means Jordan Love is going to get 1.
Right. It's incredible. He'll get 1 early on, and they'll be a.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the 49ers, so like they went from Montana to Steve Young, and then it was shit. There was a few decent years of Garcia, but it took about another 15 years for Alex Smith to be good, and Kaepernick was good for a moment, and now Purdy's good. And that's how usually it is. Like, look at the Patriots and Mac Jones and their situation. Well, the Dolphins haven't replaced Marino until now, and Tua is not like up to Marino.
Okay, give me like Tua. I will say is nothing great. He's still probably the best Dolphins quarterback in like the last 20 years.
20 years by far, yeah,
by far.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Once you lose Marino, they had nobody for years. They couldn't
look at the Browns.
No, Browns never had a quarterback. It's hard. That's why it's hard to get rid of a Tua, even if he's not. He's still better than most of them. Like Kirk Cousins. We don't know how great the clutch gene is, but he's still better than 80% of the quarterbacks.
I think they could. What they could do is draft someone later on, like and try to find your Brock Purdy or someone who's sort of maybe can't come out a little early or didn't have a high-profile offense to complement them, and see if you can develop somebody younger.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that's kind of a slick way to go about it.
I think so. Then you just kind of like. You just have to kind of give up on the rookie contract that way, though.
Yeah.
Well, good quarterbacks in the NFL don't grow on trees. I would
say
true. 70% of them fail to the 30% that succeed. I'm happy that Flacco's getting his due because he never got his due, and I always thought he was a better than average quarterback, if not a very good quarterback, and he was always kind of seen as a joke, and he really wasn't. His career numbers are really good, and he's got a Super Bowl where he beat what's his face, Manning and Brady back to back.
He had such a great playoff that year too.
Yeah, he was on fire.
His whole playoffs he was making clutch throws and doing much more than just game manager bullshit.
I agree, but he's got the Browns humming.
He does.
I mean, they're one of the better stories of the year because Deshaun Watson absolutely failing this year, just being hurt and not being a factor. You would imagine they would go like 6-11, and to go, I think 11-6 is really impressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Stefanski coach of the year.
Any?
I would say DeMeco Ryans.
DeMeco Ryans, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, he turned that team around. That was a great game this Saturday with the Colts and the Texans.
Oh yeah, God, your heart goes out to that guy who dropped the pass too. Oh my God.
He's the sickest man in America.
It's so bad. I mean, it's cool to see Minshew lead that team.
He's the best backup in the NFL, in my opinion.
Is he the new Geno Smith? Like
he's the new Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. I mean, Geno Smith kind of became a starter, but I never really believed in him, and he had a decent year, but he didn't have a year like he did last year.
So what game are you most looking forward to watching this weekend?
I'm going to say Chiefs-Dolphins is a really good one. Lions-Rams is really good. They're all really good games.
Everything except Steelers at Bills.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think that's just going to be a
I
bad
don't
game?
believe in the Steelers. I just
don't believe in Mason Rudolph?
No.
Well, they're coming with no TJ Watt. Yeah. They have some injuries now, and the Bills are kind of like, they're believing now. They're back to believing that they can make a serious run, and to get the second seed. They weren't going to make the playoffs a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, the Dolphins were fighting for the 1 seed.
It was like everybody was just ready for McDermott to be fired and everything too.
But they got to have a good playoffs. If they shit the bed in the first week or the second week, I would try another coach next year.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the Lions-Rams is a hell of a game, and I think the Chiefs-Dolphins is a hell of a game. The Dolphins should have beat them in Europe this year. They didn't finish the job, and it's like, finish the fucking job, man.
They never do.
Get this fucking Kelsey out of the fucking game. I don't want to see T Swift. I don't want to see.
Maddie, you're gonna miss her when she's gone. Though
I want to see her cry, like the baby she is.
Yeah.
By the way, did you guys see the fucking Jake Browning's girlfriend?
No. Is she good looking?
Yeah, Google Jake Browning's girlfriend. You got to see what she was wearing during the game, and I'm like, her numbers on Instagram went from 10,000 to 40,000.
Oh,
and it's just like, what are you wearing? One, and like, are you rooting your boyfriend on? Or are you doing this for your attention?
Oh, that like super tight.
Like, what is she wearing?
That hat is awesome.
I don't know. Yeah, the hat.
Forget about the hat.
No, that's a very fashionable hat. Yeah, she looks like, she's almost like wearing like the slalom skier outfit.
Like who would wear that?
It's super tight. She's got some big knockers.
12,000 to 40,000 in a week.
That's how you do it. That's how you play the game, Maddie. Maybe if you started dressing like that, you'd get some more followers too.
I should dress like that.
Yeah,
Jim.
I mean, isn't it silly though? Like, did you go to root your boyfriend on, or did you go to get clicks?
Everyone does everything for clicks now, Maddie. There's no
sincere
motive other than
not
clicks.
Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning plays for wins.
No, because he got a lot of clicks on that.
They're playing for clicks. We're playing for wins.
Speaking of which, and speaking of the playoff games that Maddie's excited for, do you know when the last Dolphins playoff win was?
In 1999. Oh, no, 2002.
Yeah. No, 2000.
Colts versus Dolphins.
It was the 2000 AFC wildcard game.
The quarterback.
The Dolphins won. That's the last time they won a playoff game.
Yeah, Jay Fiedler was the quarterback. Lamar Smith was the running back.
It's been 24 years.
They beat Peyton Manning, and then they got smoked the next week.
Yeah,
I forget who they lost to. They lost
to Oakland. They lost to the Raiders.
Yeah, and then
27-0.
Then Baltimore beat the Raiders.
Brutal.
Yeah. Where do you see Vrabel going though?
Maybe the Patriots. That's a lot of
everybody's saying that. It feels almost inevitable now.
Yeah, kind of almost like.
Were you guys surprised they fired him?
I was.
I think
but he's also been getting diminishing returns too, and that's the problem.
Sometimes it's good just to use new blood in there. I don't know how set they are on Will Levis. I don't know if they really still like believe in him.
You think one of the other teams with an opening might take a shot at Vrabel?
Absolutely.
Like the Falcons or
Chargers,
someone like that?
The Falcons. Yeah. But I would say New England is his number one spot if he can get that job. That's been the rumor for a while.
Yeah, that was the rumor before Belichick. This season was even a disaster, I think. Just because Belichick's age too. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see where Belichick ends up too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Were there any other coaching surprises? I mean, we had people like Rivera.
Not surprised. Neither of those surprised me at all.
Yeah.
Do you see Rivera getting another head coaching job?
I see Rivera just being retired. Maybe he could go on TV. I don't know what his personality is like.
Yeah, he should retire. He's been around too many years. Like he's had a great run with Carolina.
Talk about diminishing returns though at Washington.
Yeah, not a good job. Yeah, they need to just gut the whole thing. I'm not a believer in Sam Howell. They need to start all over. Build a defense.
They have like dudes on offense though.
They have good weapons, but Sam Howell I thought was
wasn't
bad.
Sam Howell leading the league in yards this year? Like,
I don't know if he was. It's because they're losing, so he's got to pass the ball.
Yeah, I mean, well, then that was Eric Bieniemy, his first year away from Andy Reid.
Horrible job.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say he went there to prove like, well, I'm not in Kansas City. Well, now you see,
right?
Like, you know how well Kansas City ran, and Washington was a mess, and they have some weapons. But Rivera's got to go. They'll clean house. They'll start over. They might start with a new quarterback. We'll see. But they were a bad team this year.
What do you think is the most coveted opening?
Atlanta's got some weapons, which is fun. They can use a quarterback.
I was gonna say Atlanta really just needs a quarterback. Otherwise, Chargers are getting old though.
Yeah. I think the Raiders will keep Pierce. I think they would have fired him by now, or they would have had a candidate by now. So, and I don't think the Patriots is a good job because you don't want to replace Belichick. Like,
what about the Titans now? Where do you put them?
They don't really have a lot of players, though.
I know.
They're going to lose Henry. They're going to probably lose Hopkins. They're not going to have a solid quarterback. I think that's a very tough job.
I think it's the Falcons for me.
Falcons have weapons. If they can get a quarterback, they got a very good D. And if they can put a quarterback back there with all the running backs and a couple good wide receivers, good tight end, but they need a quarterback.
Yeah, that tight end was supposed to be like generational, and you barely hear anything.
Nobody's throwing him the ball. Maybe it's him. I don't know. We don't know yet.
For me, it's the Falcons and the Chargers for the opposite reasons. I think the Falcons just need a quarterback. The Chargers need a lot aside from the quarterback.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Speaking of coaches, it's rumored Gruden might be on his way back.
He's back.
He's back, baby. So it sounds like the Saints
rumors
are considering him, adding him.
I wonder if they'll fire the coach.
They should. He's a bad coach.
He's very mediocre. And they should have won that division. Like, they're better than the Bucs.
And his players don't even listen to him. Winston was supposed to just take a knee and decide he wanted to score a touchdown.
Well, it sucks too because Arthur Smith was mad at him, and he's like, "It wasn't me, man." And that's like, it looks like it's the coach, but yeah, that was. I don't like running the score up for no reason. There's no need to do that.
No, that was awesome. Go, Jameis.
I love how he just did it on his own. Like he thought it would be clever to.
No, they wanted to get the guy that's their fullback a touchdown.
Oh, okay, I got you. Well, that's a team. That's a team player.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Jameis is an awesome locker room guy.
Still, do you think Gruden will be accepted back into the NFL fold?
I think the whole Me Too movement has hit a wall and the whole canceling because we've
did he get Me Too'd or he got booted for something else?
Well, I mean, it was. I think Matt, he's using a more specific term for a broader
umbrella of all this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cancel culture is kind of fucked because what we're seeing is like there's rules for certain people and then there's exceptions for others. So once that thing kind of breaks where there's rules for thee and not for me, then it's like whatever.
Well, it's also like how bad was your crime and did you serve some time for it?
He got fired.
He was been out of the league for a couple years.
He got fired without pay too.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, and then if he starts back over it like redemption school,
I mean, he was so banished that even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took him off the Ring of Honor. And I'm like, come on, it's so silly. Like, were his emails bad? Yeah, but like, we all write stupid fucking emails. Not as bad as that, but like,
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't think he meant it in the way of like to be such a terrible human being. I really don't.
In my mind, I look at it both from the lens of college and pros. If someone like DJ Durkin can have a job, why couldn't John Gruden?
Sure.
Where is Durkin now? Anyway,
he was a DC, I believe, at Texas A&M.
Well, he was a good DC back in the day. So
he was, and then he just killed a kid.
Just killed a kid.
John Gruden never killed anybody.
Yeah,
that we know of.
True.
Maybe it's colon.
His colon. All right. Good news. Jackson Mahommes is free.
Where was he?
Good lawyer, man. Good lawyer, dude.
What happened?
Basically the woman dropped the charges.
Okay.
I think she was probably getting harassed to no end.
She was also probably got a nice little lump of pay behind.
Right.
Nice little settlement.
Yeah. But hey, he's a great guy, and I'm glad he can do more TikToks.
I hope he does one right away.
Right. Like, this clears my name. I mean, that video was so like, it's weird like what he did was insanely stupid and bad, but it's like, it's also like he was drunk trying to kiss it was dumb. I don't know if
like the box.
Still faces misdemeanor battery charge.
When you see the box, you got T Swift, you got Brittany Mahommes, you got Jackson Mahommes, you got whoever else is up there. When they show that box, it's like nails on the chalkboard. You're just so angry. I hate them all.
That one time when T Swift brought like Ryan Reynolds in there. I don't know. I have a big, I'm not a big Ryan Reynolds fan either. So it was like,
yeah, that was weird.
Well, I think his wife, I think Blake Lively and Taylor Swift are.
Oh, that's friends. Right. Of course, because if you're famous, you only have famous friends. So
T Swift doesn't want any attention yet. She comes in on Christmas with Santa with her 87 pom-pom hat. Not looking for attention at all.
No, just wants to go there like any other fan.
And Pat McAfee can get fucked. If you watch the game with the McAfee thing, you're an idiot.
Maddie, I was getting ready to show you that.
Dude, I was like,
that's right, Jim Texas in the middle of the championship game. Like, I'm sure you guys are watching the McAfee feed
on ESPN too. It was all the McAfee cast.
Oh, so annoying.
How was it, Jim?
I didn't watch it.
You did.
I saw an update on like one of the things I was watching since I was checking to see if it was halftime was done or something when I was outside.
Yeah.
And it went to ESPN2, and I was like, what is this? Oh, it's McAfee. Oh, whatever. Whatever.
We're on the sidelines. I'm not wearing sleeves because
for the national championship, they do all the other simulcasts. So you can do like, there was McAfee, and then I think there was the coach's room is the one they do all the time.
They should have done one with me
or Peyton.
And they wouldn't have had to pay me, and they just would have seen me yell out "cocksucker" every.
Well, Barstool
if it was Monday night, they should have done it with the Manning cast and had Tom Brady on.
I agree.
That would have been great. It's funny too. Was
Tom Brady and Ryan? Wait, no, Ryan Leaf was watching
streaming it.
Yeah,
it was Portnoy was probably at the game.
He was. Yeah, he was tweeting shit all day.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He's like, this might be the best Michigan, the best team of all time. We got it. Like, come on. They won. Be happy they won.
Yeah, absolutely. What else is going on? We got this weekend. So not every game is going to be like on cable.
No, they announced this early on.
Game.
Yeah, baby.
Is this driving people crazy?
I believe it's the Steelers Bills game, isn't it?
Bills. I think Bills Chargers. Or
no, that was Bills Steelers.
No, that was the last. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing here. Bills Steelers. Yeah, like it's.
They'll get enough people to watch. They don't give a fuck.
I mean, especially like you guys who pay for. I know, Maddie, you pay for like the.
I have Peacock.
NFL
I'm gonna pee. I'll be right back.
I got Peacock. Yeah. I haven't gotten rid of it.
Yeah, I have Peacock too. I don't know why. They kind of have enough.
It's cheap enough too. Like Peacock's not. It's still like
it's
under $10.
Still, yeah. It's like it's ad supported, but it's not insane amount of ads. So.
I always got it. I got it for wrestling originally.
Did you really?
Yeah, because it had back like a few 3 or 4 years ago. Peacock added the WWE package. So you got included included every WWE pay-per-view on Peacock for free.
So cool.
Which was sick. So I got it.
Right.
I think it was like 2021 or something like that for the Royal Rumble that year.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sick. And then I just kept it because they had the USFL. And then I don't know if I'm gonna I just never got rid of it.
Yeah, it is. I'm really hating this though. Like,
I hate this
having to track down games. It just
it's worse than cable.
Yeah,
Holdovers is a good movie. It's on Peacock. So
did you watch it, Maddie? That's like one of my. That was probably my favorite film of the year. I think
really good. Yeah,
I loved it. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, so that's one good thing about Peacock. But look, they know that people will watch these games. That's all they fucking know, and they're going to figure it out, and they don't care that you got to jump through hoops because we're addicted to football.
Because you will. They've shown that you will jump through these fucking hoops.
So what is it now? Thursday night on Prime. This playoff game is on Peacock. Eventually, I assume they're going to have like Monday night on like some ESPN specific platform.
Trust me, 1 year Netflix or somebody is gonna pay for the Super Bowl.
Dude, 1 year you're gonna be it's gonna be pay-per-view. You're gonna have to pay $40 to watch the Super Bowl. We're heading that way. And people are gonna complain, they're gonna still do it.
Well, maybe I bet if you had to do I bet if you did that, you'd see a significant drop off.
Oh, you would. It's no longer a
they'll try it
because it's not it doesn't become such a cultural phenomenon anymore. Yeah. You know, it's not the people that would watch it just for the commercials or halftime show are going to be done with it.
They will try
there probably be parties still, so who knows? I don't know, but yeah, I could. They will milk us until they can't milk us anymore.
Absolutely.
That's it. I saw this other ad. Did you see? We were talking about Tua, but Tua's brother is like entering the transfer portal, and he doesn't even have any eligibility.
He could theoretically get a waiver, and get a 6th year of eligibility. So it depends whether or not they allow him to get the waiver.
But it's just a funny move to go into the portal first, you know.
It's wild that he'd go into the portal and not try and just get an extra year of eligibility at Maryland.
Do you think he'd be drafted if he went to the draft this year?
He'll be a late 6th, 7th
I think he'd be a late guy. He's shown flashes of being like pretty good.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. Maddie, you're gonna love this, but so Pat McAfee's been talking about being a victim.
Yeah, so annoying.
He's getting full in on the conspiracy trains.
Yeah, he claims an ESPN executive is sabotaging his show.
He's starting to lose it. He's starting to lose. He's starting to lose all his luster of what he was to be because he was kind of like this outside.
There's just too much of him.
Yeah, he's too much.
He was sort of like he's a barstool guy that is more palatable than Portnoy.
But he used barstool because he learned the ropes, and then he left them, and then he started his own thing, and then he blew up. And he's like a hype man, but he's a hype man that says nothing.
There's still a lot of people that love McAfee. There's a
lot of people.
Huge amount of people.
I mean, even if you left ESPN, it'd still be a huge.
Still having a
wherever he
is. I also do think there's a lot of people like me who I liked him before when I would get like bits and pieces of him when he would just be like when he would come and do the college broadcasts every once in a while for like those games and he'd be a sideline reporter. Those were fun. And then you'd see like clips of his show every once in a while. Those were great. And now he's on all the time. It's nothing but McAfee.
He's on. Like he's on. Like he's got to do a shtick. And it's like, it's annoying because it's got no substance.
Because his shtick is trying to like seem authentic, but he's definitely not authentic.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he's trying to play a wrestling character. It's like, I'll watch wrestling if I want to see a wrestling character. Fuck him. We're taking your audience, McAfee.
I just think it's hilarious. He still brings like Aaron Rodgers on when we all know he's paying for Aaron Rodgers to be on the show.
He's paying for Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers getting on there talking about Jimmy Kimmel being on Epstein Island, which is the funniest shit. And it broke Jimmy Kimmel. Like he's just like, oh, what are you talking? Like a guy who's supposed to be a comedian gets like out comedied by a fucking.
And I'm also like, I see stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah, sick sports content.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we don't need those two guys to go at it. It's a boring fight. It's a lame internet fight. It's just quick headlines that mean nothing, that don't help. It doesn't help the world, doesn't help society. They're both egomaniacs. Whatever. I'm not going to give them time. I'm not going to be Team Rogers, Team Kimmel. You're both fucking narcissist bitches.
I found something stupid online, and Maddie, you're a big. Do you remember the 1991 Super Bowl and the all kids halftime show?
No, but was that the
gentlemen? Boy, do we have a show for you, and it's an all kids cast. On behalf of the 2,000 children performing tonight, We'd like to dedicate this halftime show to all the servicemen and women who are protecting us in the Persian Gulf. And now, live from Tampa Stadium, it's the first ever all-kids Super Bowl halftime show!
Giants Bills Super Bowl. We'll be famous for Whitney Houston more than that. But
yeah,
I'll have to check that out.
Was that the Whitney Houston game?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It was just funny though too, because like I don't know what year they started with the whole massive, pop stars and rock stars halftime shows, but it used to be Up with People. Like,
I remember too. Michael Jackson did like 93.
Well, that might have been the beginning of it then.
It was kind of the beginning of it, and then it became like, okay, who's going to do the halftime?
Yeah.
And they would get rock acts. They don't get rock acts anymore. It sucks. Like, I think my favorite was Prince. Tom Petty was good one year. Paul McCartney was great one year. U2. And then
the Who?
The Who was terrible.
The Who was awful.
That was the last year they had rock and roll.
Yeah, that was kind of like, okay, do we need to roll these dudes back out?
Well, like the issue is if they went rock and roll now, it'd always be like a classic rock group.
Yeah, because they're
it's like you're gonna grab Imagine Dragons.
Yeah, Franz Ferdinand. Yeah, I don't even know if those bands still.
I bet you can do country. I bet you can do like a big ass country.
You could do Gigi Allen.
I'm surprised they don't do well. Country's a little. It's own.
It blew up this year though. Like a lot of the top Billboard was country.
Nowadays you got like hip hop country, so there's a whole other.
Yeah, country's like very strange now. When you see like the Billboard or the Country Awards, it's like Jelly Roll and like some other like dude with a face tattoo and then a black woman, and you're like, what is that's? Where's all the straight rednecks like?
I read some of the comments on that McAfee article you linked, Luke. This one's my favorite. Pat McAfee show is my favorite show in sports by far. They talk about the uncomfortable things most shows don't. Steroid use, injuries and concussions, off-field issues, and player problems. They don't ignore or sugarcoat negative stories. This show feels exactly what it is and was designed to be. A bunch of buddies unfiltered talking about the happenings in the sports world. I don't watch his live sports coverage and have never been into college sports. But his usual daily show is phenomenal. It's real. It's informative. And he gives all kind of different people a voice with varying opinions. It's literally all ESPN has going for it. There's just some random commenter.
I think it was probably Pat writing.
It was one of his buddies, I bet.
Oh my God. It probably pays him a lot of money to do it.
Ungenuine as can be.
If you want. I forgot. I didn't realize it was a Fox News article because that makes a lot of these comments make way more sense.
When he's clap for the Swifties, and he's like, let's hear it for the Swifties. And you have these guys and they hate Taylor Swift. And they have to sit there and be like, yeah, the Swifties. Thank God you're in the football. Like, get the fuck out of here, you fucking shade.
Yeah, it's not real if you're paying people to be on it. It's not like... I mean, I could see the Fox News crowd liking it because Aaron Rodgers gets on there and says weird QAnon shit.
It's also not real if the hockey opening night, McAfee comes out with a Penguins jersey with the sleeves cut off, and he does 40 minutes to hype up hockey when ESPN has a doubleheader to open the season up. He's like, I fucking love hockey. I fucking love hockey. I'm controversial because I said the F word, even though everybody says it nowadays. Fucking idiot. He's got all you morons fooled. All you idiots are fooled by him.
All right.
Morons.
You guys got anything to add right now? We got a big weekend
Happy
coming
New
up,
Year. My hand's feeling better, and I'm going to take a poop.
Shout out the UFL and shout out the AFL. Arena football coming back, baby.
And congrats to the University of Michigan for
Congrats to the University of Michigan.
2023-24 champs.
Congrats to an all Big Ten national championship game.
Who has it better than us?
Nobody.
You ready for the repeat, Luke?
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. They could be. They could still, if they keep everyone. I think their defense could still be really good next year.
Start next week.
What's that?
Is the
Bachelor starting next week? Yeah, that's the real Super Bowl.
That's the real one. Oh, Joey, the tennis instructor.
Last bit.
Gonna give some of these bitches some private lessons.
On the way too early college football top 25, Michigan is ranked 6th.
I saw that. I'm like, okay, it makes sense. There's just I think
number 1 is Georgia.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Georgia's kind of they're in machine mode right now.
Texas.
So.
Who's number 3?
Oregon.
What's Bama?
4.
What's Ohio State?
5.
They don't have a quarterback.
Oh, they get a transfer?
They got Will Howard. They got Will Howard from Kansas State.
They better get Tua, I'll tell you that.
Talia, you mean?
Talia?
Or Talia Tagovailoa. All right, boys.
All right, guys. It's been real. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.
All right. We'll see you guys next week
for
another edition of the Sports Hole.
Sports Hole!